Listen up, Autothoughts and Decepticons. You're listening to Prime Cuts. Decepticlowns. You're listening to Prime Cuts, an unlinear Nero, Audrey. Fuck this show. Holy shit. Oh my god.
We're at our wits' end. This Miley Cyrus voice, they're trying to kill your girl. This show has literally tried to kill us 3 times now.
Jesus Christ.
Nero once and me twice.
It's like, it's like we had to take a couple of breaks in the middle of it, which just happens because, this is one of the long ones. This is one of the fucking animes, so it's only one season. But holy shit, this has lasted 75 years. And it's the worst one.
That is probably objectively true of what we're going to watch, huh?
Like, there's really not many things, period, in the Transformers franchise, I think, that get worse than this show. Like, you have to start digging into, like, obscure...
The Bayverse movies.
Yeah, I guess. Even those are impressive in a sort of disgusting kind of way. I think they are worse from an experiential enjoyment perspective. Yes, for sure.
I enjoyed them less than Energon. The later ones, at least, some of them.
Yeah, Energon never gave me a literal headache like the last night did. It's a real close thing though, ranking those two.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom, as they say.
Yeah, it's like the later Bay movies are like you have to dig into like weird side stuff to find things that are worse than Energon. Like the Machinima web series. I'm sure that's like worse than Energon in basically every like meaningful way, but it's a web show, so who cares?
The Simon Furman comics specifically.
God, even the early IDW stuff.
Oh yeah, no, it's leagues better than Energon.
Spotlight our CSI.
You by no means have to give it to Simon Furman. However,
he can write a story. He can write a thing that moves from A to B to C.
Yeah. However, his comics are in fact better than this show.
Oh my god. I mean, I feel like we've already covered a lot of what we think about this show.
So hey, let's talk about our multifaceted and multi-dimensional thoughts about Transformers Energon. Care to start, Nero?
It's just the
Since
GIF.
You're the one who put us through this.
It's just the GIF from MST3K of Joel doing the OK sign of the camera and going, "It stinks." That's what it is. All it is. It's just the animation is terrible. Across the board. The writing...
That's not true. It is terrible 95% of the time, and then 5% of the time, it is actually quite good to look at, which makes it worse. That makes it worse.
Whenever something exciting or impactful happens, they have to make it look nice, but otherwise...
Well, that's not true, because sometimes people just get big and they look even worse.
That's true. So the animation is almost unilaterally dog shit. The plot barely exists.
It's not I would say it's not existential.
The characters are cardboard cutouts for almost all of them. There's really no interesting things going on.
You know what I'll give to Energon? And this is all a relative thing, but it gave me possibly, outside of the Maltos, my favorite human characters.
That's so crazy. I think it's just because,
no, it's absolutely relative.
Yeah, it's just relative to the rest of Energon, because it's like, man, these fucking robots have no sauce.
Kicker, God bless him. I like my man. I'm a Kicker stan now.
And, you compare it to Armada, which I'm not going to say is like a fucking masterclass of character writing or whatever. I basically found every character in that show interesting, at least. I was never like, why does this guy exist? Whereas in Energon, I ask that question regularly.
You know what I could do in Armada?
What's that?
I could identify every character.
That's true. They all look very different. Instead of just being
what I could do.
rectangles.
That's what I could. That's what I can fucking do in Armada. So that's sort of a non-starter with the Energon robot characters.
So yeah, all of the characters are bad.
The bar is literally on the ground, and they are underneath it. Which is kind of an achievement of itself, isn't it?
It's impressive that it ended up this bad, and we've talked about the reasons why. This was rushed into production because they really wanted to fucking capitalize on Armada's runaway success right now, immediately. And as a result, guess what? This line did not do that well comparatively. It didn't flop, but it certainly was not as successful as they would have liked.
So I have a question for you.
What's that?
How do you feel knowing that you were the one who subjected us to this?
You know, there comes a time when one must make a hard choice. One must make the sacrifice. It had to be done. This always had to be done.
Follow-up question: how do you feel knowing that you made me watch the dub?
I am sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
You could have been bored instead of bored and confused if you'd just watch Superlink instead.
I'm not mad.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about fucking Transformers Energon? Oh, once again bringing up the fact this was the 20th anniversary.
Oh, that's so sad.
This was what we got for 20 years of Transformers. This is the fucking slop they fed us on a big fucking hog trough. Here we go. It's Transformers Energon. You have anything else to add about Transformers Energon?
No, just that I definitely have not been plotting my revenge for the last 6 months.
Yeah, we'll get to that after these questions. We'll get to your retaliation after these questions. Which we have quite a few.
You are coming down with me, hand in a lovable hand.
You are fucking pulling out the gun. We are on a sinking ship together. And you just blew another hole in the boat. But first, before we get to that, we have some questions. We actually have one on Twitter. Before we get to our Discord questions, which I made sure to limit this time, because I wasn't going to be here for a whole goddamn hour and a half on the Energon wrap-up episode. That simply was not going to happen.
I'm still recovering from having a cold, so I'm already at low energy. Don't ask much of me.
Xander... at DeathKid64 on Twitter, who asked, let's see, a week ago, asked, if you are able to fix this show, how would you plan to do so, or would you scrap the show whole?
Scrap it.
Yeah,
my genuine answer to this is I don't know where the line between scrapping and fixing it is. Because I think the concept of having a sequel to Armada is not an inherently bad one.
No.
And certainly, at least at the beginning, we had those characters. We had a line from Armada to what the show was. Now, that line went off the rails very quickly, but it's not as though it's a separate series, right? It's not like it's an independent entity. It is very much, or at least was created to be a companion to Armada. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that is bad. So I don't know if taking that concept of using the same characters, of doing this, 20 years post Armada, but just basically changing everything else about it counts as scrapping it or fixing it.
You run into a sort of ship of Theseus situation.
Yeah.
Where it's you can basically, I think, you can keep the idea that it's a sequel to Armada set 10 years later. You can keep some of the bits about the plot that do exist. I think you can keep Alpha Q in there. I think you can keep the Unicron stuff in there.
Again, we talked about this. This was never a particularly good show, but it really lost all of its steam after Unicron was defeated.
Yeah.
There was at least something that it was building up to that point. again, it wasn't well done. It wasn't well written. It wasn't well executed. There was more characters than Noah had animals on his ark. Like, it wasn't a good show, but there was at least something that it was building towards. And again, not an inherently terrible idea. The idea that before Unicron got to Cybertron and Earth, that it destroyed a whole host of planets, and it is also the only being around capable of restoring those planets because it is this like primordial entity, is kind of a cool idea, right? And like if you have to bring Unicron back, like that's a kind of cool way to do it. Like they could have done something with that, and then they did, and then there were 20 more episodes.
Yeah, like they just fuck around with this like pool of super energon for the rest of it. Yeah, and I think if I had to make like what would I replace the end of the show, because you just cut all of that shit. You get rid of these fucking combiners, you get rid of all the super energon shit, you stop all of the getting large. I think the end of this show should be Unicron attacks the Earth, right? Because like the end of Armada is Unicron attacking Cybertron. It should go the other way. Instead of fucking 20 episodes of fighting against space.jpg, which is what we got.
Yeah. I think those are good answers.
Yeah, I think like the answer is like you could make a good thing that is called Transformers Energon, but the amount of things you would use from the show are like minimal.
Yeah. You could use like a shortened skeleton. Like if you took the skeleton of it and then took its knees off. Yes. Everything below the knees.
Everything below like the third rib, honestly, get rid of it. That's the amount. That's how drastic Energon has to be.
I'm gonna skip these questions from Cass because
they're just bits about the question.
Yeah.
They're just bits about the question limit.
The question limit. So, our first question on Discord comes from Ruby Road Rage. The robot gods have spoken. From now on, 3 elements of Energon must be in every single Transformer series going forward. God. What do you choose, begrudging or otherwise? Okay, wait, no, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
What are elements of Transformers Energon? Becoming shirts and pants is already sort of a pretty well established, like.
Yeah, sure. Super linking. Fine. That's not terrible.
But I think but I don't think that counts because like that's already a thing that happens pretty frequently.
No, I count it because it has to be an element.
Every show has to have somebody who can become shirts or pants for someone else.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
I think that's fair. That's fair. So that's one.
Let's put Kicker in every show.
I mean, I kind of want to do something with the humans. Like, I was like, maybe an abusive dad.
God.
to increase the actual main human character's charm point.
Yeah, like give them something else.
Yeah, because again, neither of us liked Kicker until we realized how much Dr. Jones sucks.
Yeah, we were like, oh, this explains
like,
everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you know
what? You know what, Kicker? You were totally justified in behaving the way you are. Your dad sucks shit.
Yeah. The third one. I think every show should have a trio of annoying primary colored side characters who get murdered for no reason.
That's really good. I was gonna say Padlock.
I mean, same thing. Every show needs a Padlock. Every show needs a Team Ironhide. Just like guys who are defined by dying badly.
There you go.
Which, when you think about it, that is kind of prime Cliffjumper. He just had a little bit more sauce than those guys because he was Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I guess. He was also like properly named.
Yeah, he had like a character.
Yeah.
And a design.
Yeah, and we actually, I mean, he dies pretty quickly, but we do actually get to see what his character was before that.
You get a lot more. His death like affects people emotionally.
Well, to be fair,
I don't
Ironhide death does affect Ironhide very strongly.
And no one else.
Everyone else tells him to get over it.
It would have been really, they should have added in fucking Wing Saber being dismissive about that. That would have been very funny, considering how he is also entirely defined, but no one else gives a shit. Yeah.
All right. Next up is from Geist. Going from Armada to Energon, or even just within Energon, which character do you think had the biggest glow down?
Oh, this is going to be stiff competition.
Oh, it's very easy for me. Demolisher, who went from a troubled bot torn between loyalties to one of the Blowjob brothers. Cyclonus, born to laugh but forced to yodel. Starscream, who just had his entire personality removed and replaced. It's Starscream.
Ding, 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 that one.
Yeah, it's Starscream. Or maybe Optimus, who just sort of did things with no real reason. Pick your worst. It's Starscream.
Yeah, Optimus was like that through the whole damn show, to be fair. But yeah, Starscream is like, if you're going by how they were in Armada, man, like, what a fucking boring character. And even if you ignore the Armada stuff, he's just nothing. Like, he's just there to be cool and be loyal to Megatron.
Yeah. It sucks. I'm so upset about it.
It's a fucking crime.
All right. Now for the big one.
Yeah.
From Aurora Energon, welcome to the Shock Flash / Starscream's character development from Armada Memorial Awards for doing a bad job and sucking ass. As always, the Academy needs nominations for award categories. Most useless Autobot / Omnicon.
Ooh.
Wingsaber?
No, he was really good at the one thing he did, which was becoming shirts and pants. I think
Padlock.
No, I think it has to be someone who is like who's like a guy who matters, because otherwise it would be Padlock. I have the answer. My nomination is Superion Maximus. What the fuck did you do, my guy?
He told people his name.
He did tell people his name, and then he said, "I'm so happy to have friends." And then he did some of the gnarliest shit I've ever seen to get Bruticus Maximus.
Yeah, actually, I disagree with you. I think
you're right.
Like, for that death alone,
he did nothing for 12 episodes, and then he did some fucking absolute serial killer shit. So maybe it's not him.
Roadblock?
Yes, Inferno. Oh man, like,
but, specifically Roadblock, not Inferno, because Inferno was actually kind of interesting. But then he died, and his Jesus moment was coming back boring.
He just stood in the back. He became a guy who stood in the background of shots.
All right, I'm gonna give it to Roadblock.
Yeah, congratulations, Roadblock. Literally, why are you alive?
Least awful Blowjob brother.
Mirage.
I mean, I'm torn between Mirage and Demolisher.
Yeah, I mean, we know who the worst one is.
Yes.
That one's pretty easy. Although, I will say, Mirage only really became part of, like, the Blowjob Brigade late in the show. So I do think it is Demolisher.
He was one, but I'll give it to Demolisher.
Yes.
If only because Demolisher has actual interesting parts before he becomes a Blowjob brother.
Yes.
Worst animated moment. Oh, how could we possibly choose? Okay, I have two. One is just, I can't actually remember what it was, but there's several episodes where it's like very clearly just dragging JPEGs across a background. And then, because the textures are so bad when they're big.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the whole Optimus Supreme versus Unicron fight. It just looks like ass the whole time. Like I said, there are some, like, if we're just talking the movement of animation, there are some shots in the big, ugly, stupid Galvatron versus Optimus fight at the end that look like they have some kind of weight behind them. Optimus Supreme versus Unicron is, like, completely fucking toothless and weightless. And they're just standing on, like, nothing. And it makes no goddamn sense the whole time. Runner-up is the fucking crunchy as hell explosion JPEG they used for this whole show. That's like the fucking honorary mention. Fireball dot fucking JPEG.
Next, most egregious child endangerment.
It's gotta be the one where it's gotta be the one where he fucking gravities his own son, right?
Yeah, it's him like dropping him down a mine shaft.
No. That one. He at
Oh.
least was still tethered. I'm talking about when he just lets him free float through the asteroid belt.
Yeah, that's what I said. Spacewalk. The spacewalk. Yeah.
Fucking insane. Dr. Jones, you should be shot.
I mean, it's all bad, babes. It's all bad. The next one. Dumbest plan.
I really have to think about this. I mean, like, towards the end, nobody even had a plan, right? Like, I don't know what the hell Galvatron was even doing. He had the same plan every time, which was, I'm going to go out and fight Optimus, 1v1 him, and I'm going to win. And then he lost every time. But I don't think that counts. I think I have to go with... the time that Optimus... someone told Optimus that Unicron's surface is really hot, so you shouldn't touch it. And then he flew down and touched it and caught on fire and died.
Likewise, I was going to say Inferno going into the sun. Just people burning themselves alive really stupidly.
At least that one was on purpose. At least that one had some kind of point. Optimus just did that shit for no reason.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Great. Next, funniest episode name title. So there's only 4.
Yeah, there. But I think all of them are funny in their own way. It's funny to misspell your own character's name with Scorpionok.
I think I do have to give it to A Tale of Two Heroes.
Yeah, A Tale of Two Heroes is good. I'm going to nominate something different. I'm going to nominate Imprisoned Inferno.
Yeah, and then the last one is, of course, Deception Army. But I think I have to give it to A Tale of Two Heroes.
Very good. How did that shit happen once, let alone 4 times?
4 times. Most baffling episode. The Race World episode?
Yeah, like...
No, sorry, the weird tournament episode in the middle of everything else going on. That was supposed to be like...
Yeah, that's the most baffling one in Energon. Like, for Super Link, it is the race one, because it's just like, what the fuck is happening?
I mean, both of them are just like, here's a weird training episode in the middle of everything else that's going on, and both of them are baffling for it.
Yeah, the other one is just so much more, like, outrageous with it. But yeah, like, both of those are definitely the ones that are just the biggest head scratchers. Oh, this one's exciting. I like this one. Yeah,
ugliest recolor / reformatting. My boy Demolisher.
Oh, man, Energon Demolisher is such a fucking hideous design.
He's a brick.
He's just a
house
fucking rectangle. Like, the thing is, basically,
and the colors are terrible.
Oh my god. Like, yeah, everyone loves green construction vehicle, right? Well, what if it was like kind of a weird sort of swamp green? 2, what if instead of purple being the main secondary color, what if it was shit brown? Is that a good color palette to look at for fucking
This is
40
me
episodes?
Like me designing my fucking armor in Mass Effect.
It looks like he climbed out of a bog. Demolisher is maybe like, he is probably the ugliest reformatting in comparison to his like old design.
Yeah.
I honestly think that Roadblock looks better than Inferno did, but that's the only thing he has going for him.
The only other one that actually sort of competes for me is Starscream.
Oh my god. Yeah. No, I think I agree with you. It's Demolisher. Just an ugly ass design.
It's just so bad. It's so inorganic. He is he's a greeble swamp green box.
Yeah, like every returning character for Armada looks worse, and then they get to look double worse if they get recolored.
Strangest dub difference. I mean, mostly it's the Primus stuff.
Yeah, it's like the weird exclusion of, like, all the other stuff is like, it's really weird and confusing, but like, that's just incompetence. The Primus thing is really bizarre.
And what's super bizarre about it is that it's not like,
it's not consistent. Yeah, like,
yeah, right. Like,
stop doing it after
it would be one thing if they really were able to like do the dub somehow without mentioning Primus at all. Which, again, I get it's 2004. You're an American cartoon company.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
guess
necessarily want to talk about robot divinity.
Yeah.
There might be some complications about it, but it would be one thing if they were able to do that, right? If they were just able to take Primus out of the equation, which they probably could have done in some way. But the fact that they don't, that Primus is still there and does show up, but just not nearly as often, is just weird.
Yeah. Also, once again, just a very funny reminder that they did all this stuff to de-emphasize Primus and Energon. The next show, way more Primus forward. The subline imprint for the latter half of Transformers Cybertron's toy line. Would you like to know what that one's called? Why it's called Primus Unleashed.
Great.
So
fantastic. And then the last category.
One's easy. This one's so easy.
I may have a different answer than you, actually.
Okay.
Which is worst Power Link pants mode.
All right, let's count it down, okay, and let's see if we actually have the same one. All right, so
yeah.
3, 2, 1, Prowl.
Wheeljack.
Really?
Here's the thing for me about Wheeljack is the patterns are just the lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's no making that good.
I definitely see that. It's like two different ideas about what makes them clash, right? Because
yeah,
with Wheeljack, I like that he has a dub name, but nobody cares. He just looks like
Wheeljack.
He's just
Whatever
Wheeljack.
The fuck. They can't even get his name right in the dub half the time. So who gives a shit?
Sure
it's Wheeljack.
It's fucking Wheeljack. So, but with him, it's he actually does. The silhouette looks pretty good. But the colors are so...
It is so hard for me to parse him as pants because of the colors.
Whereas Prowl completely annihilates any silhouette he becomes the pants for because they all get fucked up chicken legs.
I think
a loincloth.
I think these are both valid answers.
Yeah.
For me, it is just visually speaking, if I'm looking at the two of them head on, it's much harder for me to parse Wheeljack pants because it is so glaringly obvious where it stops,
yes.
where it is not the same pattern anymore, and it's just oof, ouch. Whereas I think the tragedy with Prowl is seeing it in motion.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
You're just you just look at fucking those times where Rodimus is super linked to him for 7 episodes in a row, and every waist up shot of Power Link Rodimus is fine. Then you look down and go, ah!
Yeah.
Jump scare.
As always, the Academy thanks you both for your dedication to finishing Energon/Superlink. We hope y'all enjoy your break. Thank you so much, Aurora. We really appreciate that. We really appreciate you putting these together every series.
It's always fun. And this was a fun one because there was a lot of fucking shit to give out awards for.
Yeah. Our second question from Geist is, what sort of punishment should Dr. Jones face for his parenting crimes and crimes in general? Firing squad. We've mentioned this.
Firing squad, shot into the sun, drown him in a well. I mean, you can pick anything.
1 sec, I'm just gonna grab some water.
Just spin the wheel. Drawn and quartered. Iron Maiden. That thing where you tie him to the back of the horse and ride the horse and just drag him in the back of the horse, and that kills him.
Drinking my water. Wow, you really.
I was just naming different execution methods.
Yeah, just looking up medieval torture.
The brazen bull.
Haybine asks, where does Energon Ironhide sit in the Ironhide rankings? The bottom.
Yeah, I think he's the worst one by a fucking country mile.
Now, I say this, to be clear, I say this with the acknowledgement that Ironhide is actually one of the better characters in Energon.
Yeah, that's the fucking scale we're working with here. He is one of the more tolerable and interesting characters in Energon. Worst Ironhide.
Terrible Ironhide.
Oh,
and really not even Ironhide. He's just a robot with the name Ironhide. But this is not the Ironhide character.
This, continuing the Armada trend of just slapping whatever name on whatever guy. This guy's Ironhide. There's no reason.
Yeah. Hey, my second question is, have you ever before experienced such a 180 change in your opinion of a character as you had with Kicker real name unknown Jones?
Oh, man.
Like, possibly not, actually.
Especially not with my prior biases going into this show. Like, I remember fucking hating Kicker last time I watched Energon. So no, I think it's kind of unprecedented.
I feel like there may be something, like, I feel like there's probably Homestuck characters, for example, that I feel that way. Like, I probably feel that way about Gamzee, honestly.
There's characters who, like, I have been ambivalent about, who I have, like, by a certain point are, like, my favorite characters in a show. But I don't think I've ever been, like, this guy sucks, this guy is the worst, so quickly to he's actually the best part of the show.
Yeah.
I don't think
this might be the most extreme example of it.
Yeah.
Planet Core Wizard Sabrina asks, since we are never going to see these characters again, can we get a where are they now for the cast? OP, Hotshot, Ironhide, Kicker and Misha, the remaining Decepticons, Rodimus, Primus, Unicron, Dr. Jones, the Erotic Kids, the Midicons, and anyone else you want to shout out.
Okay, technically that's not true. Technically we will see some of these characters again, sort of, kind of, in a really weird and convoluted way. Kicker and Misha, they move to an Alpha Q's planets and lose Dr. Jones's contact information and live happily with like 2 cats. That's what I think happens there.
Yeah.
Ironhide dies in a swamp like the horse from Neverending Story.
I'm not going to do the remaining Decepticons because frankly I can't remember who's alive
It's
anymore.
literally just Snowcat and Demolisher.
Great. Fantastic. They open a bed and breakfast together.
they have the fucking Venom ending of Guilty Gear Exit.
Does Mirage make it out?
No, he kills himself alongside Starscream and Megatron.
That's right.
He's like, Megatron, Galvatron went in there, I gotta go after him because they decided in the last like 5 episodes that I'm super game for Galvatron. Bye.
Right. Yeah.
This version of Rodimus is so boring I can't even come up with like something funny for him to do after the show.
He gets a desk job in the military, whatever.
Yeah, he becomes like undersecretary of the fucking Navy. Primus
goes to Beach Planet and just spends the rest of eternity drinking Mai Tais.
It's the fucking orb just like the sun with sunglasses pasted over it.
Yeah. Unicron's fucking dead.
Yeah, Unicron is the sun now. The Minicons were not in this show. You can collectively like put the Street Action team's total screen time. I think it would fit in a YouTube short. Like it did not.
I think it would fit in a Vine.
Yeah, like it was. All I remember is that one time we saw Perceptor watering flowers, and that's the only thing.
I mean, Kicker does break some things with the Star Saber.
The Energon Saber.
Yeah, the Energon Saber.
And Alexis becomes president.
Alexis is the first female president.
That's right.
Great. Shernokcha asks, who is a character from any piece of Transformers media that you would put in Energon to make it more interesting?
Overlord. Put him in there. Fucking the show just ends 20 minutes early because Overlord appears. It just kills everyone.
Thanos.
Plus, I would love to see how they would attempt to render.
Oh, any piece of Transformers media, not any
you
piece
can't
of
just
media,
put Thanos in there. I would love to see how they would attempt to render Overlord's luscious lips in that terrible art style.
What do I put in Energon to make it more interesting?
It's a big
Rutgar.
question.
Chet's second question is, you are given the chance to replace all of your memories and experiences of watching Energon with the experience of having watched a completely different robot-related show from 2000s, but it must be one of these options. Which do you choose? A. Cubics. B. Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Or C. Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. I loved Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, and I would have loved to have rewatched that instead of this shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. I watched a lot that as a kid. It's a very weird show. But I really like it. It's a very like kind of mean and cynical show for that era. I think Cubics. I never encountered Cubics.
Neither did I. Yeah, I was surprised to see that on this list, but yeah. Torrance Stinky Mask asks, what were the biggest differences between the sub and the dub? I mean, we sort of already covered this. The biggest one really is the Primus stuff.
The second biggest one is the Superlink has like a linear story, and the dub is sort of it's an experiment in non-Euclidean dialogue.
Yeah, what would you know about that?
Exactly. I watched the one where at least when they said things, they might not have been interesting, but they did make sense. Although there was never anything in Superlink as good as "I hope you have health insurance, Prime."
There were some lines in Energon that were pretty something. And how did the decisions they made in the dub affect the story?
Made it harder to parse. That's basically it.
For the most part, it just meant that Energon was like much more difficult to follow, which is why I didn't. Which is why you could really hear me giving up in the last like 5 episodes that we recorded of this.
I really think like the episode where they go to that they make a pit stop at that like ice planet when they're flying to Unicron. That's the part where it really starts to break down, and it's like I don't understand what's happening anymore.
Yeah. So I apologize for the fact that I couldn't follow this show, but I couldn't follow this show, so sue me. Nero from Disney Minus asks, so I've asked this kind of question before, but I feel like I had accidentally worded them in a way that made it come off as me asking you how you would put the literal character in a new Transformer series rather than how you would do your own take/version of a character in a hypothetical new TF series. Example, Transformers animated Starscream in his own character that made him different from the Starscreams in other TF media, but is clearly a take on G1 Starscream. Okay, word solid of context over. Now the actual question. Knowing how Energon mistreats its characters, how would you take characters like Kicker, headstrong teen with a fear of Transformers due to trauma, but is forced to be around them because of some magic power given to them by earlier mentioned trauma, Armada Starscream, sad emo anime boy who is loyal and honorable knight to Decepticon leader who doesn't care about them, and any other characters you might want to add into a new series or a hypothetical future season of an ongoing series?
I mean, like, all of these are character archetypes if given to something that just has more time to develop them, right? Like, yeah. You could honestly take you could take Kicker or Armada Starscream and put them in a new Transformers thing and just like properly, devote the time to them and treat them properly, and they could do really well. I honestly don't even think Armada Starscream is like unsuccessful for the type of show he's in. I think he's easily the best part of that show. Kicker, obviously, I think could have been a way more interesting character. Like, put a character like him in something new, and he would probably be a well-liked human charker.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's another character concept that we've encountered that's like, basically what this question is to sort of translate into a more streamlined thing is like, what character concept in Transformers would you like to see given proper time?
In Energon.
Yeah, from Energon.
And the answer is, like, all of these could have been interesting if they've just given a shit.
Yeah.
But they don't.
I would have loved to see more of like a proper character arc for Inferno, like struggling with this sort of corruption, or Scorponok.
It's in the question itself, right? Yeah. Knowing how Energon mistreats its characters.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is the thing, is that these characters were not treated well. They were not given time or energy or care at all to develop. Yeah. So, yeah.
You can leave Snowcat at the curb, though. We don't need Snowcat.
I am free from the yodels.
Yodel-hoo. You're gonna be walking down a dark street and you're just gonna hear that in the distance at some point in the future. He will never escape Snowcat. He's out there.
No, I think you're wrong.
He lives. He's out there.
I get that, but I'm not watching this shit ever again, so I'm good.
Snowcat is still a threat.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm done with it. Second question is, save this for last question for the bit or not. I'm not your parents. We're at the end of it all. We're not saving it for the last question. We've been through, not really a lot, honestly, but it sure did feel like it. Regardless, one last time, I must ask you, how are we feeling about Megatron's iconic sword, Hotshot's iconic blaster, the Jerkerrrrr, our Lord and Savior Padlock, and the Optimus Prime unused power-up support crew ran by Wing Saber?
It's just him. It's just him and the Prime Force drones that go to that. Because as soon as Mega Supreme shows up, he's just fucking macking on that guy all the time. He's like, oh, Mega Supreme. He's literally the only guy he listens to after he shows up. Optimus smacks Ironhide in the mouth for daring to question his, like, judgment. But if Omega Supreme says the same thing, he's like, thank you for your wisdom. I will take this under consideration.
Maybe Jetfire shows up once and then goes, no, I'm cooler than you guys, actually.
Like, actually, I still have a job here.
Yeah.
I kind of moved out of his shadow, in fact. Yeah, I mean, the blaster is still one of the funniest things to happen in this show, especially in the dub, where it is completely baffling.
And I will say, my will always have Paris is the Jerkerrrrr.
Yeah.
If nothing else, Energon will have driven me so quickly to insanity.
Like, yeah, fucking
that I
minute
produced the Jerkerrrrr, one of the best bits that has ever come out of my mouth.
Minute one, just like we were losing it because we knew it's like, oh, there's 51 more episodes of this.
The
shit.
Stroker. Christ alive. So anyway, it's the little things, right? At least
That's right.
I have my sense of humor.
At least we'll always have the Jerkerrrr.
We'll always have the Jerker Paris. Sabrina's. Yeah, we'll give her all three of these because the last one was from the week before. Mm-hmm. Sabrina's second question is, now that Superlink/Energon is over and done with, we have packed our things, said our goodbyes, and are moving on to stinkier pastures. Much of Transformers media influences its future media, and this is no exception. And while I know our humble host, this taste for this show can tell us what the introduced and focused parts of the show that would go on to influence the rest of the Transformers as a whole, be it characters, lore, use of human companions, etc. Since this question was not asked for Armada, feel free to do that one as well.
I gotta say, Armada has a lot of, like, there are a lot of influences from Armada. I mean, like, Starscream was wearing his Armada body in IDW for a while. They invented mini-cons, right? Like, there's the Optimus Prime Super Mode thing kind of started with RID 2001, but Armada Optimus combining with Jetfire made it into the Bay movies. By comparison, Energon has kind of been memory hold. There are plenty of Armada legacy figures, both in the actual toy line sense, like Transformers Legacy, and also just in general. Energon does not get that. Energon is sort of the black sheep of the Unicron trilogy in a lot of ways. Like, every part of Transformers shapes its future. This is the one that shaped it the least, I think.
Yeah, I don't
think there's any part of this that makes it into the future.
At least that was originated by it.
Yeah, like super linking, power linking, that's not really a thing that ever goes on in the future. The idea of terror cons being this horde that emanate from Unicron, that's never used again. Alpha Q is just a complete enigma in terms of, like, quintesson characterization. Like, that's never this idea of Unicron also being a force of creation, that's never an idea that's really used again. Again,
there are things that are in Energon that exist in other series. It's just they didn't originate in Energon.
Yeah, they didn't originate, and their reuse is not really due to Energon.
Yeah.
It's really kind of bizarre thinking how little this affected everything.
Actually, fascinatingly, characters don't even get big in other series.
No.
Like,
yeah,
you would
really.
think, like, that's the one thing that would be like, oh, well, that's an obvious way to, like, power up or whatever that you might see somewhere else. But, like, even that doesn't get used in other series.
Like the Omnicons, none of the shit that this show does that's different is, like Like Omnicon is, I think that is like a word that recurs later, but it has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
It's very strange. It occupies
the Energon stars are nothing.
Yeah, it's sitting between two really beloved and influential shows in Armada and Cybertron, and it's just sort of like this fucking void of anything. There's literally
where dreams go to die.
That's right, Transformers Energon, where dreams go to die. There actually was, fun fact, there actually was an Energon like legacy figure released this year. It was a very small version of Energon Megatron, actually, which makes sense because that's one of the like few decent designs from this show. All of the rest of them are ugly as sin.
Yeah.
I think they reissued Energon Optimus for one of the Chinese Zodiac special figures, I think, for some reason. But that's it. That's all Energon has. Fucking nobody wants it. Nobody care it. We certainly don't care it.
Okay.
Die alone. That's what we say to you, Transformers Energon.
Sabrina's last question is, with the show done at the conclusion of Earthspark, with potential new shows on the horizon, and I know you get this question every season, but what would you want to see in the next or a new Transformers, see it be American, Japanese, combo, mature, silly, etc.? For me is I want OP and Megs, if they are in it at all, to just hate each other. No past friendships, no love lost, no I can change him. I want them to want the other's head mounted on a wall.
Yeah, you want like a return to fucking G1.
G1.
Like classic flavor, fuck that guy. I definitely do kind of want that, as I do love me some fucking, arc of tragedy, but there is something to be said for Megatron walking up to Orion Pax working at the docks and just perforating that dude for no reason, like ultimate hater mode.
I mean, it's the same answer I've given before, but I really like the political stuff that gets involved about imagining sort of a future post-war. And I would love to see more post-war stuff.
Yeah.
We get a bit of it in Earthspark, but I'd like to see it on Energon. On Cybertron. I want a story on Cybertron about Transformers that doesn't involve humans.
Yeah, like we want like fucking robot like Succession over. We want like high political drama. But
I want Robot West Wing.
Yeah.
Give me Rid comics.
Yeah. Just animate it. I'm going to say, that is usually my answer. I'm going to say I think I want another American and Japanese co-production, because Cybertron was the last one. And I don't know, it just feels like the anime side of Transformers has kind of been relegated to Japan only for a while. I think we need some more goddamn Transformers anime over here,
Yeah, I mean, that Studio Trigger...
Oh, it's so good!
Here's the thing. I don't actually like Studio Trigger that much. But I did get emotional watching that 40th anniversary clip from them. And it would be very cool to see, like, a major season anime that gets, like, dubbed, etc. from, like, a major studio.
Yeah, although from what I understand, a lot of the Japanese exclusive Transformers shows have been very bad for a while.
Right. Well,
but maybe this time, that's why you gotta make it. You gotta make it good. Just make it good. Have you ever considered just making the show good?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my answers here, and this is why I keep going to the political stuff, is like, but I would love to see all sorts of different genre covered by the Transformers. You're just using Transformers characters. But that's why we have fan fiction. Void Mother asks, Q, with the cursed show material and the constant unforeseen delays in getting podcast episodes out, would you say this has become the creepypasta season of Prime Cuts?
Yeah, the Unicron orb was like exerting its influence on us for sure.
I mean, it's as close as we've gotten.
Yeah, all of the problems. It really is actually like cursed by a witch.
Yeah, we're just Problems Clown. This podcast has been Problems Clown, and neither of us have strong wife to protect us.
That's right.
So I'm just getting stabbed by Problems Clown.
I think that's
and our final episode comes from Aurora again. I'm going to assume this is supposed to be Sisyphean. What's your favorite Sisyphean task?
I mean, I think you gotta stick with the classics. You gotta stick with that boulder. It's just so iconic. Although, you know what? Actually, there's that. There's washing the dishes.
I was gonna say washing dishes and
doing the laundry,
cleaning my cat's litter box.
Yeah,
I do it because he's cute.
I like that robot, the sculpture that's like the robot that sweeps all the blood up, but it also makes the blood. I like that one. Now I'm just thinking about that Northern Lion fucking lock in.
Oh God!
Get it twisted. That's like running through my head every day. That's usually in the back of my mind. That whole fucking thing.
Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
Get it twisted. Lock in. You're nothing. The universe doesn't care about you. God, it's so good.
Before we finish, we have to announce a couple things. One is that next week we will be this week, by the time this episode comes out. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. But we will be this coming weekend airing Transformers 1, which is the best Transformers movie that's ever been made. So exciting, actually.
Yeah.
And then we will be taking a break until the middle of January. Because there are holidays coming up, and I will be out of the country for a little bit. And also, we've earned it.
After all this shit,
we've earned it. So enjoy the holidays, everyone. Rest up while you can, because when we come back, the next series we will be covering will be the Netflix War for Cybertron trilogy, which most of you guessed we were going to do.
Yeah,
but
when we said,
here's confirmation.
When we said the next show is going to be it's sort of the same stinky vibes Energon, and we've already said we're not going to do RID 2015 because there's too much of it. It's like there's not that many options left. Some points that the trilogy has in its favor: it's short. That's about it, actually. It's short.
Yes, we will be powering through that shit, and then we have good, I would say several good plans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just need to we need to eat our stinky rotten vegetables before we can eat our delicious cakes. And I will say, for the purposes of this podcast, we are counting the whole thing as one season, just because, like, if we didn't...
There's 6 episodes.
There's 6 episodes per season. That's fucking 4 podcasts. We're not doing that. We're just going to do the whole thing. So look forward to that. I guess some fucking details about the show. It was a non-union voice acting production, which is why a lot of the voice acting is bad. Because it was made very quickly and on a low budget and with very poor direction. It's lit like the inside of a rhino's asshole. If anyone's familiar with the comic artist Livio Ramondelli, who unfortunately for all people with eyes did some IDW comics in the past, if you look up any of his art, the show basically just looks like that. Which is to say, extremely heavy shadows, dramatic lighting, and blocky silhouettes that all look the same. I think there was something about the animation that was really weird. I think it was like the animation.
It's just like the lighting is terrible.
Yeah, the lighting is terrible. I think there's something about the animation studio.
Oh.
That was like an interesting thing. No, it was produced by Rooster Teeth.
Right.
Which is extremely bizarre.
No, wait.
It was produced by Rooster Teeth.
Haven't we gone through this several times where I kept saying it was Rooster Teeth and you were like, no, it's not. That's the Machinima one.
But Rooster Teeth was involved in this, just not in like a creative. It was like they were like production.
Okay, so I was right the entire time. This is the Rooster Teeth one.
Yes, but not in any way that matters.
They produced it. What are you talking about?
They produced it. Polygon Pictures is so, oh my god. They produced those fucking horrible Netflix Godzilla animated movies. Holy shit. Those movies suck ass. They were also the animation studio for Metroid Other M. So that's the sort of pedigree we're working with here. Produced by Rooster Teeth, animated by the guys that did Other M and those terrible Netflix Godzilla movies. Also, the showrunner.
Okay, I'm vindicated because I kept saying it. You were like, no, that's the Machinima one. Ugh. I was right. It is the Rooster Teeth one.
I just think it's so weird that they produced it for Netflix. That seems so bizarre. But everything about the show is bizarre. The showrunner for this series is the showrunner for the Prime Wars trilogy web series, the aforementioned Machinima show. So, there is some connective tissue there. I mean, this show is like... The thing about it is, right, everyone talks about Energon being the worst show. That's like it's like a joke. Everyone rips on Energon. It's like fun. I have not heard or seen a goddamn thing about this series, which never bodes well for anything.
I've only seen a couple things which were like it wasn't good.
Yeah, like the thing you see about this show is like, oh, this was very bad and boring. But I hear it also is very bizarre. So look forward to that, I guess. Next year, we're starting it off with fucking War for Cybertron Siege. Let's go.
Yippee. Well, I think that's it.
That's right. We've been Prime Cuts. Our fucking grim task is now at an end. Transformers Energon is dead and buried, and you can find us on Twitter at PrimeCutsPod. By the time we come back, we will almost certainly have a Blue Sky. I'll get that up and running over the break, because if somehow you don't know, Twitter it ain't looking too good. It's dying badly, like Shock Blast. Although not as suddenly, it's just like kind of bleeding out. I'm Neri. You can follow me on Twitter, however much longer it is, so that exists. I will have a new show to talk about. That is in the works. It is happening.
You're so brave.
Thank
you. You are tempting fate.
We are spitting in the eye of God. And that's it for me.
I'm Audrey. You can find me on Tumblr, Twitter, and Blue Sky at Optimum on Prime. That's my funny robot internet joke. You can listen to the other podcast I do called Pot of Greed, which is about Yu-Gi-Oh! You can watch videos on demand of the Moonshot fundraiser that I was a part of last weekend. The Extra Life. I won Mario Party. I'm the Mario Party champion.
Let's go.
And I will have to defend my title next year. Yeah, and that's it for me. So, Peach. I don't have the energy to be funny about this anymore. Goodbye, folks.
I'm going to lay down and sleep for 50 years. Peach.